students participating in the 18th annual Laguna Beach Plein Air Painting Invitational, and I would like to invite up Celeste Gillis over here. Here you are. And I understand you're going to give out the certificates to the.
I think the principals are doing that, but I have some money to give out.
Money would be good.
It's always kind of nice. And I also want to introduce Jeff Sewell. He's La Papa's director of education, art education for kids, and works with us with our Plein Air project. And I'd like Jeff to maybe say a couple words about the Plein Air project.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure. We teach and mentor well over 500 children and students a year. We're looking really forward to working with Top of the World and El Moro this year, and starting a relationship with them where we're annually working alongside with the local elementary schools. And so we're really excited about it, and I know I have an appointment in the makes with Mr. Daddy. So we're going to start to see if we can progress and get this thing going on a bigger scale. But thanks for having us, and it was a fantastic event with the kids in October. We had it from about 4th grade up to high school level, all out painting with us, and it was fantastic. So Celeste can fill you in on some of the details and the nitty-gritty of it. So.
Well, we hold this event for the kids every year during our week-long invitational, and it was a great day and super fun for all the kids, I think. And their artwork was all hanging at the Forest and Ocean Gallery in downtown Laguna Beach for, I think it was down there for about 10 days, so kids had a chance to come by and with their parents and see their art hanging on the walls in the real art gallery. And we asked parents if they're able and willing to make a donation for their child's artwork, and we give that 100% of that proceeds back to the school where their child attends. And this year we were able to collect almost $850 to spread throughout the 4 different schools here, so we're really proud of that. And so I guess I'd like to, I don't know if you guys are going to come up individually with the kids, or I could just chat. And then I have the artwork for the kids who aren't here too, though.
Okay. Let's see one or two.
Yeah. You know, this was an example of.
We had 8 mentors out with small groups of children, and it was fantastic. And the best weather of the year, Laguna just was shining for us all. So our mentors all really worked closely with the students. It was a fantastic time. So.
Yeah. And just to go back really quick on the Plein Air project, we target 4th grade students for that project because we tie it into early California history, which they're studying in 4th grade, and how that history relates to our town and
their local art history.
Yeah.
It becomes California history. We have a relationship with the Irvine Museum where we're able to fund and provide busing for the schools to come to the museum visits, all sorts of stuff. So it's a 4-part project. So anyways.
So
Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call up the El Moro students who participated in the field trip. So, and bring up your paintings, please, and show them off. Katie, do you want to come up? Katie Dartez. Don't be shy.
Hold it up my butt.
Awesome, very good. And here's a certificate for participating in the field trip. Is Katie Thomas here? Where did I see Katie? She said she was coming. Maya, come on up, Maya. I saw Maya. Is Maggie here? Maggie Wang? Bummer. Maggie's not here. And I think that I don't see Julia or Haley. So thank you for coming, you guys. I'll make sure that they get there.
We have some students here from TOW as well. I know Bailey was supposed to come, but I didn't see her arrive. Bailey Duna in the audience. I know the rest of the students here. All right, Shay Bruns, come on up. And we have Kayla Chisholm. Samantha Hosa. And Alice Mitsuka. And last but not least, Sam Sweeney. Maybe push into the crowd. So big round of applause for our. Well done. You may be seated.
Great, and so from Thurston, we had Peyton Gibson. And Jordan Telwine. I'm just not sure if Layla is here, I wasn't sure, and I don't think I know anybody else, but I will make sure they get their paintings and their certificate, but another round of applause for. And from the high school.
Okay, she's not here today. Allegra. Do you remember where she painted yours? Oh, yes.
Oh, this looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Thank you, and the rest of the participants are not able to be here. Michelle, Luca, and Alai, Monda, so, and Audrey Trevor, so thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll give everybody a minute to clear out so that. Stay. How you doing?
Take a picture.
Did a great job on that.
Show me your picture. When will I stop getting so lazy at these things?
Bailey Bean.
Ready to go? Okay. Our next recognition is for me.
So, the next recognition is for our outgoing trustee, Bill Ramsey, who's been a board member from 2008, so this will be his last formal board meeting. We'll have one more meeting coming up for my evaluation meeting that he will attend, but I'm gonna pass it off to Keta, so I believe she's going to do the honors.
I'm gonna roast you, not really. 8 years, been a long time, but you always bring your A game and truly appreciate the perspective, the heart and soul that you bring to every meeting. We don't always agree, sometimes I do wanna choke you, and vice versa, I know that's true. But the reality is, it really has been a pleasure working with you. I do know, and I believe in my heart, that you always, always keep the kids first. And that is what this job is all about, and that's just the highest praise I can give you. So with that, you get a man plant, and a good
Thanks so much.
You know I don't hug, so.
Okay, I would have a little different comment to make about Bill. He did also serve as an interim for Kate Turner, and so about 6 months that you stepped into that role. We had a room full of people that were willing to step into that role, because it's obviously, what we've just gone through, it's not running for election, it's being appointed. And we had a lot of community input that not to have a person who was going to run for election because they would have a leg up being an appointed incumbent, and that would just be the choice of 4 board members, not the community. And Bill and I think maybe one other person in the room were the only people that would commit to that. And then it doesn't always happen, but Bill honored that, and he did not run for election in the next election. He waited through one more cycle, and he, I guess, found it a challenge enough that he decided to run for office. But there was no election that time, I guess.
That's right.
That happens very rarely in the district, but there was one board member going off, and so no one else signed up to run for office, and so Phil had no idea how easy that was. But he found out 4 years later that it is different when you run for office and when you're out answering questions and interacting with people. So I think that's a little bit more of the history of what he's been through as a board member and his commitment to the district. And I always feel that whether people agree with us or don't agree with us or support our decisions or not, that they always have children in their heart. If they're coming here because they're concerned for something that's not working for their child, they have a good heart, because that's, as a parent, what they want to do. And the same for our teachers when they struggle with students in their class. And as Keta said, that's what a really commendable board member does, is always make sure that the decisions are based on what best serves all the children. And that's a challenge in a diverse public school. So Bill has upheld that, and I agree with Keta, because I know strangle me, kick me, whatever, but that's, Bill has always honored they respectfully disagree, because there are times when I know we have a very definite difference of opinion. And that also makes I think a better functioning board when everybody doesn't agree and you get to hear other people's perspectives. But I appreciate your years of service, it's a lot of years, and your commitment. Thank you.
Well, let me just briefly say, look, it was kind of funny the way I came to the board, because there was a lot of people that night that I was picked that had a lot more knowledge than I did, a lot more connections with the school district than I did. And it was one of those things where sometimes in life, whether it's good or bad, things fall your way. And I was so surprised the night they said, I can't remember exactly what was said, something to the effect that after they had interviewed all these folks, we had gone back into the room back here and they isolated us and we couldn't hear the other candidates' statements. And I said, well, we know what you have to do. Bill, you're going to be on the board. And I said, oh, well, do I have to stay? Because I had planned on spending the night, and I had a babysitter issue. So I actually then left after they appointed me. First thing I did. So I followed that up by leaving tonight. It's been a great experience. I've learned a lot about public schools. For those of you who know me, I was a teacher for a long time myself, part-time. I've always been a lawyer, but I always taught at night. And did a lot of work at Long Beach City College and a small law school in Long Beach. And my wife, of course, is a school administrator, so we're all in on education. It's been a great experience, and I thank you for the kindness and the knowledge I have learned. I am absolutely confident in the school board. All of you guys that are here, Peggy coming on, they're all you guys are good guys, and I've never seen the school district in a better position. So absolutely comfortable about leaving. looking forward to doing some things other than this, so. Less fun this is.
I think being here on the call.
Yeah.
See, well, for me personally, Bill, you have been kind, you've given me guidance, you've answered my questions, you've tried to lead me in the right direction and show me which things I should let go of and which things I should maybe stick to, and for the rest of you, if I don't let go, it's not Bill's fault. He's tried, he's really tried to mentor me. And I totally agree with Ken and Jan about you putting kids first, and I appreciate the laughter you brought for us. Thank you.
Just a little. No, very true, Bill, you manage this responsibility with working full-time, and it's so admirable of you. You hear from people often, like, oh, I can't find a full-time job, and I was point to you. But right, but he does it, you do, and it's a lot of extra work, and I love the intellectual conversations, some of the bigger thoughts around, education as a whole, and outside of just looking at us, I miss that, even though I can still do that, and not worry about around that, thoughts, would be great. And, one more time to do each other.
Yeah.
Like that too, but, I'll miss the funny, I'll miss the humor, I'll miss the lighter side you sometimes bring, or sometimes that harder, you sometimes pose the questions and you haven't thought about, so I miss you very much, and your contribution all these years, thank you.
All right. Let's now move on to public comment on issues not on the agenda. I have at least one person who signed up. Allison, I will mess your name up, in my last time, mess your name up. Potter?
Yes.
Yep, and then we also have Angela Ham. You can speak separately if you wish, or speak together, it's your choice, you have your opportunity. So, yeah, you want to come up here and identify yourself for the record and say whichever you like to say.
Hi, I'm Allison Trotter. And I'm Angela Harris, and we're both new parents to the school district. And first, I just want to say that living in Laguna Beach is a dream, and so far, seeing how this community really embraces these kids is amazing. The issue that we wanted to bring up together is about security.
Well, just at both of our previous districts where we were from, they do volunteer screening on people that come in to volunteer in the school. And then also there's more of, it's just harder to get into the school. Like there's locked doors to get in and you have to get just checked by the, front desk person. So I would feel more comfortable if, things like that were in place for the safety of our students and also the staff at the school.
The school district, I came from San Ramon Valley School District in the Bay Area. And as a part of doing your registration for your children, I have 3 children in the district. You did the background check. That was the system. You did the check, and there were different tiers of screening. And maybe this has already been addressed, but as a new parent, we just wanted to bring that up. I noticed that we looked in all the surrounding school districts do volunteer screening, so maybe that's just something that's already been addressed, or we just wanted to see what the position was.
We're not supposed to answer your question, but I'm gonna ask Dr. Valori to have someone, either him or someone on staff, get back to you.
Okay.
Because this is a very, very important issue, and I want you to know we are doing things. And I'm so happy you're here, you're new, and you've got kids, bringing this for kids. But it's very important, somebody will get back to you and make sure you leave your names and everything so we can do that. And we're gonna touch base on both those issues, the screening issue, which is very important for public schools, and the issue of security. Yeah, oh, you got your number, so we got it right here, so we're good. So I promise you, someone will get back to you on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like Mr. Hills?
Hi, my name's Howard Hills, and I was recently a candidate for the school board, and I'm here tonight to keep a promise that I made while I was campaigning for the school board. But before I keep that promise, I'd just like to congratulate Peggy Wolf, and I'd like to congratulate you, Jan Vickers, for your election. And I'd also like to say to you, Jan, that there was some euphemistically what I refer to as disingenuous mischief that took place during the campaign, and I want to thank you for not associating yourself with it. I think you showed a lot of character and a lot of integrity in how you handled yourself in the campaign when some somewhat provocative issues arose. I think you really handled yourself well, and I appreciate that. I did want to say, one of the things that, I'm very grateful for the votes I got in all precincts, but as it turns out, the precinct that I did the best in was out in Crystal Cove, which surprised me, but pleasantly surprised me. And I made a promise to the people out there and to the people out in Aliso Viejo on the Autobahn and the people in Club Laguna, that if I were elected to the board, that I would try to convince the board to come out to Crystal Cove annually, and at least have one annual meeting out in Crystal Cove at their community center, and that I would try to get the school board to come out to Aliso Viejo, out to the Autobahn, and maybe have a barbecue and have a picnic, so that the people out in those communities, I was here when the community brought Three Arch Bay in, as you were, Jan, and Emerald Bay and Irvine Cove, and I feel like we've done a better job integrating those satellite communities, for lack of a better term, into the school district and build community in those places. And I think it was underscored. I saw the interview with the superintendent, and he said, it's not very often you can work in a school district that serves only one city. Capo Valley School District, as an example, serves something like 10 cities. We have in Laguna one city, it's unique, one fire department, one police. And I think that's somewhat symptomatic of the problem, because of course, Emerald Bay has a fire department, and Aliso Viejo is part of the school district, and it's not within the city. And so I think we need to, I wanted to keep the promise I made to those people that I would encourage the school district to be more proactive in trying to establish a better relationship with those other areas. And so I wanted to come in tonight to do that and acquit what I think was a commitment to those voters out there. And I just also wanted to wish the board and wish the schools and wish the community, before I ride off into the sunset, I'm going to give the superintendent a detailed statement of a number of issues and matters that I think he needs to be seized with that relate to budget issues and some of the issues that I've raised from time to time as an advocate here. And I want to support the superintendent by providing him with a pretty detailed list of those matters. But other than that, I just wanted to congratulate you all and wish you a good term ahead here.
Thank you, Howard. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment on items not on the agenda? Hearing none. We are now going to go to number 7, which is our reports, and we start with our auditors.
Yes, Jeff Carter, partner of MTA, is on here to discuss this report. Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've had a chance to review the audit report, and I'll just try to highlight some of the areas in the audit report overall, and then open it up for any questions you might have. Our audit process, it goes throughout the year, starting in the springtime, and it ends in the fall after you've gotten your unaudited actuals, your financial statements internally presented to you by Mr. West. And what we do is come in afterwards and prepare the financial statements as they're required to be done for the federal, state, and county governments. So within this audit report, the first section is the financial statements. It's in a little different format than your unaudited actuals. The first page, or the second page on that is our auditor's report on the financial statements and supplementary information. I'm pleased to say that it is an unmodified opinion, which is a clean report, really the highest level that you can receive in clean financial statements. I might add at this point also that there were no adjustments that were required from our standpoint, so the unaudited actual information that you received in September, your final financial statements, didn't require any adjustment from the standpoint. The next section of the report gives us some of the supplementary information, such as the attendance and instructional minutes, those kind of things that the state looks at. Also an important page in that report, in that section, is your financial results over the last 3 years. It does show that you are maintaining your reserves at an adequate level according to the state requirements, so that's always a good point to raise. Some of the other information in the report also deals with some of the combining statements. It gives you more detail on all the other statements, not only the general fund, but all the other funds that encompass the school district. And then the last sections of the report deal with some of our reports on federal and state compliance requirements. There's several financial statement issues, compliance issues, both federal and state, that were required to be looked at. And again, we did find that you were in compliance with those areas. We didn't have any exceptions in the area of federal or state compliance. And then the last section of the report is probably one of the areas that the most boards go to first, to look and see if you've got any findings or recommendations. We didn't have any findings in the area of financial statements or federal or state compliance areas. We had a small finding in the area of ASBs that probably pops up 99.9% of the districts that we audit. So again, it wasn't anything that was material or would cause a big issue, just something where you could tighten your controls in that area. So just in closing, I always like to mention the fact that we get good cooperation during our audit. Mr. West and the rest of the business department, as well as the sites we go to, the different departments that we deal with, we got the information that we needed on a timely basis, which helps us get our audit complete on a timely basis also. So, kind of gives you a quick recap of the report. I know it's about 90 pages long, so if there's any questions that you might have in either the process or the results of the audit, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions?
It's clean. It's always gratifying to have these reports, because I know that Dean West and his department really pay close attention and give us accurate information on a regular basis, so and it's very important to them because it reflects their hard work. So I just for the folks that are here also, I mean, if you do audit also the instructional time, I mean, it's more than just the accounts. And I think it's, as you know, when you made that comment about the 99%, I mean, when we have the student accounts or sometimes with PTA accounts or teachers doing field trips, I mean, it's hard because it changes and people change. So I noticed there's the letter that has the correction also. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Beverage High Day audits most school districts in California and the majority of school districts in Orange County. And Jeff Carter is a 27-year veteran and is retiring this year and has provided a lot of services to schools in California. They are the experts in school business audits, and so we appreciate his service to the education community over the years. And so he'll be rotating as he retires. Roy's Parker will rotate on next year.
You get a new set of eyes, so new viewpoints. So you never know. That's always good. That's always a good thing that you switch eyes on the thing on your audit and get a different perspective.
So is retirement mean retirement, or does it mean something else?
Well, I'm still going to be doing. I'm going to slowly get out and just stop doing some of the school district work and do some of the other work that I've been doing. So just easy my way out.
It's hard to give up everything all at once.
Yeah.
I know, it's not an easy task.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next report is from our student representative.
Hi, so the man who came to dinner closed last week. The cast did a spectacular job, and a special thanks to Alexis Carroll, Peter Roach, and crew. The Reflections Art Contest exhibit at TOW is from 5 to 6. LBHS had 4 division winners, film production, literature, music composition, and visual arts. We had 3 awards of merit and 3 honorable mentions in several categories. Cross country, both boys and girls made it to finals in Riverside Running this Saturday. If they win, they participate in the state meet the following week. November 9th was signing day for student athletes. 8 proud LBHS students signed their intent to attend colleges. And then tomorrow, we have an assembly tomorrow at 9:40. Sergeant Clay Cranston from the OC Sheriff's Department will be here in the Artist Theater to discuss cyber behavior and safety. Water polo quarterfinal match versus Murrieta Valley at 6:30 tomorrow night in Irvine. And CIF football playoff game Friday night versus Bourne High here at LBHS, kickoff at 7 p.m.
So much. Next is our LaBouffe representative. So you can do anything you want.
We would like to thank you, Bill, for being a great member of the school board and also a parent of students who've been exemplary at our schools, so we're grateful for that. As a LaBufa faculty group, we wanted to extend gratitude with Thanksgiving coming up next week to the classified employees that we work with. We recognize that they are the oil that keeps everything moving slowly, and it's great to have that trust. For me, I know if I get called in my classroom or if I have to go somewhere that everything runs smoothly, and we're so grateful for those relationships. We're grateful for you, who we work so smoothly with. I think during election time, we get all kinds of crazy emails from CTA and all over the state from people fighting with their school boards, and we just have felt very grateful for our relationship with you. We're thankful for our administrators who work so well with all of the teachers, and I particularly am also so grateful for Irene White, who our special ed department would not function. Most of us would have left a long time ago if Irene wasn't there. I've never worked with anyone who values the teachers and the families and the students in such a way that it creates camaraderie among everyone, and everyone works together to do what's best for the students, and that has been a huge impact at all 4 of our school sites and for all of our teachers. So thank you for all you do. Also, just to report back on Rocket Ready and the NGSS, it's been a great experience for me to participate in Rocket Ready. I felt like I shouldn't do it because I'm just special ed with my little group of kids, but being there as part of LaBufa and seeing how it impacts all the teachers, I've been able to tell other teachers that honestly it's been great for me, because all those little trainings that we've gone to that I don't quite embed yet, now I'm pushed to do all of those things. So now I've got my Pear Deck going, and I have my Hapara going, and I have my embedded YouTube videos and all of those things, and my students are learning to transfer over Google Slides to those things. So it's been a good use of your funding and your support. I feel like it has impacted our students in the classroom as well as the teachers.
Thank you so much. And now I think we have Margaret for CSEA.
No, I couldn't say it any better than you just said it. Yes, Bill, thank you very much for your support and dedication to our school board. And in that light, yes, we are very thankful that we all work in this district where we work as collaboratively as possible to try to do the best for our students. With that, I'd like to say thank you to Dr. Valaria and Dr. Odipo for coming to our CSEA meeting and meeting some of our members and letting them have a little meet and greet and hear about you and hear about the ideas for our district. That certainly was a first, and I truly appreciate it. We just went through an election process, and we do this because CSEA is very precise on how things have to happen. We open nominations in October, we keep them open through November, and if there is no opposed positions, then we close it in November, and the board that was nominated at those meetings is elected. And so just to let you know, at this point in time, I am still the president. Elizabeth Phillips is the vice president. Dorinda Klein is our secretary, and Linda Davis is our treasurer, and our communications officer is Jackie Parker. At this time, we have no position filled for our job steward, and I am actively seeking our members to go through that training so that we would have job stewards, and I would love to have them at every site so that questions can be answered quickly, and if there is issues or concerns, resolved quickly. On one note, I would like to bring forward our negotiation team. We have tended to be somewhat the same people, and in some way we have to be because we're so small that, you know, it's learning. But the negotiation team will be myself, Elizabeth, Jackie, Dorinda, and Chris Hammerquist. And I'd like to mention, Chris, that I will be appointing Deza Zuziak to our negotiation team from El Moro, the first time we have had an El Moro representative in a long, long time since I've been. So I'm very excited by that. Our site representatives, I am looking for 2 or 3 from each site, again, to spread the information, more contact. We have our professional development reps that Ms. Winston created in the lead position so that they can disseminate the Launchpad information, which is again really important for our members. And we are going to have some site rep training in January through CSEA, and we've talked about it through the district, so that we really can utilize our members for the best. On a personal note, I have been invited back to Washington DC as a champion of change for the final reunion under President Obama's administration, and I am planning at this point to attend, and that is on December 5th.
Thank you, Margaret. Now we're down to organizations. Is there anybody here from the organization? School Power, EPA? So, there you go. Got it.
It's me. Hi. I don't think that we can thank enough, and especially at this time of year, but Bill, I do wanna thank you personally and also from the PTA for your time. And I remember running into Kirsten back at the very beginning when you first on, and you know, she just had the pride look, and it does, it means so much to our children to see us take these positions and roles that are volunteer, and not only all the kids in our community, so thank you very much. And I did wanna also thank Jan and Peggy and Howard. I mean, the campaigning takes so much time and energy, the willingness to do it. I wanna thank all of you for stepping up to do that, and for Jan to continue going and Peggy to step up, and Howard just for being here. You've been here always passionate, and I just think it's pretty incredible, so I wanted to give those thanks. And while I'm thanking, I wanted to thank the new moms over here, because you know, it takes a lot of, it's nervous getting up here. I get nervous up here. I am nervous up here, but you know, for you guys to come up, it really, I think that's pretty incredible for you to come up and just speak your mind. So keep doing it, and welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and I'll just get into our business. So for Laguna Beach, PTA coffee break, we have that tomorrow night for cyber safety, and it's actually 6:30 to 8 at City Hall, and it's going to be presented by our own police department. And we also did the reflections was mentioned. The program is actually at Top World from 5 to 7, but that was to give room for people to go to the coffee break. And great participation at the high school. I was really impressed, you know, on all levels, and I think Ms. Beaudry Porter is amazing. So I give her a lot of credit for getting all these kids, you know, at that level as well into the arts. And then Thurston Sports Swap, that was a huge success as always, huge community builder, everybody comes up there. So I did want to thank Roshani Siriani. She did an amazing job. She was super excited, really positive, and it just went really well. I think that's it. Thank you.
So much. Where's this the board member comments? Yeah.
Excuse me. I had Laguna Beach High School Alumni Association point I wanted to make.
Absolutely.
And the bad news is after I say this, I have to leave. But, my name's Howard Hills, and it's interesting because we actually had some alumni get together and we talked about what's going to happen tomorrow with the cyber security, and we just wanted to, as an alumni association, tell you that we think that program that you've got set up for tomorrow is really excellent. And then I came in here to talk about that, and I was amazed to have these wonderful new moms show up and talk about security. And I just have to say that, you know, one of the things I emphasized over the last several months is that although I've been critical of the board on use of outside consultants sometimes in certain areas, I've really encouraged that the board actually bring in an independent, nationally established security consulting firm to talk about security on campuses. One of the points that I've really emphasized is that I think we need to develop a program for what happens between the time of the occurrence of a natural or man-caused incident and the arrival of first responders. Because the assumption that first responders are going to arrive at over a particular interval is an assumption that may not be borne out in reality. And I'm really concerned about that period between an incident occurring and first responders. And I'm not going to say anything more because I don't think it's appropriate to say anything more in public. But I think that period of time needs to be addressed in addition to the physical security issues. I think teachers, students, I think uncertainty and a lack of a plan causes fear and alarm. I think when there's certainty and there's a plan, and people know that the adults are in charge and know what they're gonna do during that period before first responders arrive, it makes a difference between kids who feel safe and kids that don't feel safe. So I won't say anything about that any more, but I want to emphasize, and lastly, I want to say this. I want to commend you for being here tonight, and I'm really optimistic and hoping that the board will make a new commitment to the development of civics in the schools, including student government from 5th grade through 12th grade. I think every 5th grade student should understand the idea of electing somebody to represent them. And that's the building block of citizenship, and I really encourage that to happen. And the Alumni Association really encourages that to happen because they felt that that was also a really important thing that we've been developing. So anyway, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Now, anyone else from any organization? Okay, then, back to Canada.
Oh, okay, wow, here we go. Okay, it's been 3 weeks, so I've just done so much. Did the Teacher of the Year banquet honoring Twin Adams, that was lovely, and Dee and I drove together, so yeah. You forgot that, didn't you? 'Cause it was so
I did
long ago,
forget.
I know. And then, of course, the Great Boo Blast, which I won a really well got an auction, the best salad bowl ever. And the 2 weird cookbooks that I gave my girls, and they're so excited. Did the TOW Halloween parade, not to be missed, ever, always good. Popped into Laura Silva's room and saw the Study Sync, which is the language arts program that she's piloting, and it's fascinating. It was really, just watching her be able to push out information to each kid where they were or are is marvelous. And she said that for her, she felt that she was able to raise the bar individually and every kid is reaching, or exceeding that bar, which I think is what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's so important. Also did a couple of NGSS things, one today at the Ocean Institute, again, Dee, and I hope that you feel good about this, Alicia and Jason. I feel like we're moving, and in a good way, consensus, and there are gonna be, it's gonna be with different at each site, obviously, for obvious reasons, but also that I think our teachers are feeling that they're being heard. Am I wrong, Nate? No, you're right. Okay. Anyway, I thought that was really good, and then I also went to Torrance with Thurston teachers and Jenny to a 6th grade. They had 30 6th grade teachers in Torrance, and they have all, they started this last year, got it over the hump, and this was just a lesson, an example of a lesson, and it was fascinating as well. It was so interesting to see the difference and the depth and the engagement of the teachers in the process. So that was, I can't imagine what that's gonna do for our students, the ability to have that engagement. It's so key, and it's the application. They can actually see how this is gonna work in the real world, which is so different from the way I was taught. And, except we did the labs, but this is throughout, and I think it's just gonna be awesome. And then I saw the play, and it was wonderful. The set was great, and it was fun and long, but that's okay. Can we get some better seats in there? But it was great, so those were the.
last year,
Yeah, okay, I want one of those, yeah, I want that, and a little, maybe a restaurant, kind of thing. But, I can dream, anyway, so those were the things I did, so thank you, it was great.
Kenna did everything for me.
Usually I can laugh, so I
Can take advantage of it. Yeah. No, Mindy made me think, I don't know, maybe it's the season, but my kids have come home, and maybe a shocker to the principals, but saying such nice, grateful things about their teachers. Not that they don't normally say a comment or something, but just, and it could be the season, I'm not sure, but I noticed last night, I was like, wow, and details of why it's so nice, and they're talking about Miss Carol, I was freshman as well, but Miss Carol and how much they're learning about the subject matter and the story, and not just acting, but every day, both of them coming home and sharing something great, like, oh, even though I didn't think I could do it, Coach Fleming, convinced me that I could, that I didn't have to listen to my head, just my body would keep going, or whatever it is, these very nice, grateful things, and of all the things I could share, I think that was, and a wonderful compliment to Jenny too, but your announcements, morning announcements, and how even if it might not have been the most cheery day, you still got a cheery voice on, and like things like, that's what I mean, like these abnormal amounts of increased grateful, and so either it's something you guys are all doing at school that it's filtering through to the kids, and they're coming home saying, but one of mine is a skeptic, and so it's I'm loving it, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I'm grateful that you guys are feeding them those positive thoughts and ways of looking at things. And unfortunately, I didn't get that time to do things. I had other things. That's
We
what
share.
right, we share. That's what I was like,
We all
oh,
have times when we're
covered.
more busy than others.
Yes.
Kenneth, thank you for reminding me. I just wanted to mention, and we got a write-up about the Community Coalition meeting, but there was really nice reminders in there from Chris Hertzfeld and Amy about all the things we do for kids socially, emotionally, and academically, and I liked having that list, and it makes you feel good that we're doing a lot. One of the outcomes of the date night was, and this was really pursued by the Interfaith Council, was making sure that it was a combination of parent and child. And that really helped make it successful, they thought, and I'm really glad to see that the PTA tomorrow night, it's for children, or students and their parents also, the cyber. And another thing that came out of that was it worked out as a nice joint venture between the city and the school district, which they said isn't always the case. And it turns out that on Sunday afternoon sometimes the Suzy-Q isn't being used. I don't know if you know how that, part of it's owned by the Suzy-Q, part of it by the city. Anyway, they said that it might be possible to use it on Sunday afternoons as kind of an art studio for teenagers. That, we're looking for positive things for kids to do, so we're looking at that. Let's see, I also, a bit shout out to Mindy, they really wanted to thank Mindy for bringing students and always being helpful and supportive. Then I met with the women who run the gardens at El Morro Christian, Top of the World, and also Dr. Meg from the Environmental Nature Center. And they wanted to express their gratitude for the district helping pay to send them up to Berkeley to the edible gardens. And it established a friendship with them so that they meet every month now, and they have somebody to bounce things off, which is really great because they're not like a teacher, they're kind of out there on their own. So they invited me to come to their meeting, and they started off with 2 roses and 2 thorns, so that they can say 2 good things, so they can start with the thorns or not. But they were so wonderful about helping each other, whether it was scheduling problems or whatever. And at Top of the World now, I guess they've gone through all 30 classes, have gone out. And I haven't seen it yet, but I was impressed. I guess there's a window to the world there they were telling me about. And they made a hole in the fence, and then they're going to have all of the native plants that you can see through the hole. And so the other schools are in similar areas, so a lot of the native plants will be the same, so they can share that. And then the person from El Morro was saying that it's harder to get the upper grade teachers to come because they have so much to cover. And I'm thinking about all this because of science today, but she said she went and she talked to 4th grade teachers, and they said, oh, but we've got so much, but we really need to teach area, perimeter. We can do it out here. So she did that, and so she's working so hard to get them more engaged, but it's part of being with all the NGSS and just trying to figure out how we can make things meld together, whether it's science and math or social studies and science. So that was fun. And looking at going to the NGSS today, I love seeing the enthusiasm of teachers Of course, the ones who were there were probably the ones who wanted to be there for science. But, you know, looking at our curriculum, actually the TKs through grade 12, and at first, you know, they're looking at why do we care what you're doing? But it's coming. They are starting to care about, you know, I teach 4th grade, but maybe, you know, oh, it's okay if I know what they're doing in 6th grade or what they're doing down in 2nd grade. And it's a process, but it seems like everybody's pretty enthusiastic and it's going pretty well. So I was encouraged and like that. I saw at the high school, which, you know, I would have been more comfortable with elementary, but I thought I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna sit with the high school. But anyway, it was good. So.
Jen?
I wanted to first say that I think that the radio station broadcasting football games has been a real nice asset and addition to this community. That you know, when people don't generally go to away games unless they have kids playing on the team, and they do a really good job announcing. And so it's fun to listen to it, and I think that's just a nice service and a way to keep the community involved. So you can always listen on that FM station doing football games. It's fun. I went to the PTA council meeting as your representative, and Tammy always runs a really smooth and calm meeting. She has a real influence on everyone to do what they need to do, and share what they need to do, but it's always with such a positive attitude, and that really is, it's nice and enjoyable to go to those meetings. And then they all report what's been going on at their schools, and I know for El Moro, when you say about the Blue Blast, because they were really worried about the rain. And when I saw a couple of the parents that were really involved at the Blue Blast that night, well, it was mostly Sheila Parker said she had tried to cancel it on Wednesday and found out she couldn't, and then of course said she would have just been in anguish if she had, because the day was great and it didn't rain. So they were very, very nervous about that. And then when you commented on those baskets, they were talking about they made them smaller and in a sense like more affordable. So that went over really. They were totally affordable. Right, that went over really well. At the meeting today at El Moro, the PTA meeting, and this is for Jenny, because Chris was at, I guess you were at the science, right? So he had a video that he presented his report. So I know that when anybody else does anything, Jenny needs. So there you go.
You told her, Jan.
The competition is on. But I wanted to share with you that 2 of the 4th grade teachers came in to share what they're doing for Rocket Ready. And I don't know if any of you know about this, but they have linked with a school in Ghana. And they had little clips that they showed, video clips. And when they asked what those, it's 4th graders, and they thought it tied in with California history because they were doing connecting the cultures, and that they needed T-shirts. And so the PTA gave them the old Blue Blast and Jolly Fun T-shirts, and then they had a parent one of the teachers knows who took everything there, so they avoided that huge cost to send clothing or send things there. And then they had they were all wearing the T-shirts over their school uniforms. They sent them postcards and they were holding those up and cheering. And so they have tied that in with their world changing that they need to do for the Rocket Ready. And so I just want to say that it's really getting down to a level that teachers are seeing. It's not just professional development, it's professional development that engages the kids, and also when it's world changing, but it's changing those students and their understanding of the world. And of course, since we're in the access age where they can do the videos and actually share like that. But this is a school that children that have been, some in sex trafficking that have been brought, they live there, so there's 300 students that live there. And just feeding them is a huge challenge. So it said that one of the teachers was saying it was such a lesson to her because they wanted the names of the students so they could send the pen pal postcards, And the man there was not responding to her email, said, I just sent it again, said, I haven't heard from you, I sent it again. And he answered and said he'd been gone for 2 days, they're near a lake, out on the lake fishing to get fish to feed to the kids, and so she said when she read that, she was just like, oh. I mean, so it changes people in that respect of, that's what someone spends two of their days out so that they can fish, so that they can feed those students, and I just want all of you to know that that's, as professional development, the idea was to have something that had more impact and was broader based, and I would say it's definitely working. When I was at the Thurston PTA, then there were a lot of presentations for parents, and I think there were at El Moro again today, and I think that is so invaluable that we're really spreading the information, whether it's on the next generation science standards, because people really don't always know. And oftentimes they hear the acronym NGSS, they don't ask, so they don't know what it is. But that at Thurston, the counselors shared a lot of information, they had packets of information, and then it was Jesse Roth, he's one of the teachers on the science, because he's obviously got a ton of knowledge, experience, and background. And if I remember right, had he been in Torrance?
Yeah, he was.
So he's already like done it, and so he gave a real succinct report, but very informative for the parents that were there. And I know Brad Rush was there, but I had to leave to go get the food before he spoke. But it's just today, besides the business video, they had the counselor was giving our presentation besides the teacher. So it's just a great way to spread that information on a broader basis. Let me see if there's anything else. There haven't been a whole lot of activity. Oh, one thing I'd like to say, oftentimes, even if they try, because as somebody mentioned about Bill being committed to a full-time job, that we don't often get as many men participating in PTA, but there is one man and he's got positions at both El Moro. He stepped up in the meeting in September and he took on membership, and he's just been hammering on that to get the membership with incentives. And then he's parliamentarian at Thurston. And so it's it's taken on 2 jobs and it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'll try to be brief. A couple things. Number one, I did go to the Teacher of the Year banquet as well. It was a really nice event. I did also go to the man who came to dinner. And I want to say it was a really nice play. The kids did a great job on this, and as I've said over the years, I'm very proud of our drama department, big supporter of our drama department. One of the most beautiful sets I've ever seen.
Was it?
Oh, it was absolutely fabulous. And they did a great job. And I knew a lot of the kids in it, which is always a joy because as a parent, you will know kids all the way through. I did want to say one more thing about the security issue. Now, we're not allowed to respond to people when you say something. The Brown Act prohibits us from having an open dialogue. But I'm not prohibited from saying a couple things in my board comments. And what I want to assure you is, first of all, someone will get back to you, but more importantly, that there is tremendous training in this district behind the scenes. What you don't see, and quite deliberately you don't see, is that our police department works with the school district very closely. And not long ago, we went through an active shooter scenario, which God forbid we ever deal with. But it is reassuring to know that when the kids aren't there, our police officers walk our campuses, they learn the names of our buildings, they know where, if they're called to a certain building, where that building is, they have the diagrams at the police department, and they practice how fast they can get up there. And literally, within it's a matter of minutes till we have our own police department. Now, it doesn't solve all problems, but it's part of the training that we go through. Now and then we'll have meetings where the public is invited when we talk about security, and I do invite you as parents to come to it, because it is reassuring. You have commented something that is also there, though, that our campuses are pretty open. And if you've been there, you know you can walk on most of the campuses, all the campuses. And there's goods and bads that we've had this discussion over the years, and ultimately decided that, you know, we don't want a lockdown scenario for our kids. On the other side, we're very aware of that security issues that presents. And the issue of volunteers, it's interesting because we absolutely have to screen volunteers. And one of the things people sometimes say is, why don't you involve the community more, get more people teaching art in the community, get more people. One of the things that stops that, it's not that we don't do it, we do it, but they do have to go through screening. Because everybody who's in a classroom has to be screened. And number 2, there has to be a credentialed teacher in each room, and they can only help when that teacher is there. So there's a couple limitations on that. But some of the things that you need to know is we practice drills also, like Top of the World and El Moro for Fire, is we've had historical problems with fire. And in a matter of minutes, we can get the buses there and get them loaded and move those kids to a safe location. And not only do we have
Stage
one
there,
location.
stage.
I'm sorry?
So they stage them on red flag days, they stage them
Right.
too.
And an example, one time we wanted to move into the high school, we couldn't because it was threatened. At the same time, Top of the World was, and we had yet another high school receive them in another area in a way that the parents could then locate the kids, because parents panic when this happens. I panic myself, believe me, when those fires came. So there's a lot of work that's done behind the scenes. We will get back to you on this, but I want you to know as a parent, it's been one of my big concerns, and the school board, it's there. It's a top priority, but we try to keep it below so kids don't see it. There are some school districts, like my wife's a school administrator in Santa Ana, where they have police on campuses, and we haven't done that because we're so close, and we haven't had, frankly, the need. But we have that police department trained and ready, and they're well aware that they can get into those schools very quickly. And it's almost, we have the security cameras, over 100 security cameras. So these are things though that I'm glad you showed up, I'm glad you said something, because a reminder every now and then is a great thing, because that's the number one thing. You want your kid to go somewhere and you want it to be safe, because that's a top priority for everybody.
And I just wanted to add that, like when we had the fires, we had practice fire drills, of course, out on the playground, but that wasn't what we had to do. I mean, we had to get our classes onto the bus, lickety split, and everybody did it, it went smoothly, even though it was something we hadn't practiced there. We were confident that that's what we were supposed to do, and it all worked.
Well, now they practice that, just getting the bus and.
I mean,
And literally,
my
they do
point is,
fire
we did it
drills.
without
Yeah.
practice.
And Mr. Connell, within a matter of minutes, am I correct?
Yeah.
We can have all students on buses, wheels up in 12 minutes.
So it's a top priority, and we're working on it. It's not to say don't think about it and keep bringing, I want you to keep bringing it up, because everybody should bring this issue up now and then and rehash it, because it's a critical issue. Okay, that is it for me, Dr. Lori.
Once again, I want to thank Bill. I know his comments were echoed, and that he's always focused on students in every conversation we have. When we do agenda review, when we sit down and just have our regular check-ins, that is paramount to him, and I appreciate that, and thank you from the entire county team. So I did attend the Thurston PTA meeting, and Jan was there. Of course, I was not supposed to speak, but I did, and took more time than I was supposed to, which is always a dangerous thing when I'm at a PTA meeting. But great turnout and great presentations from the staff there, so kudos to everybody for their work there. We did have a governance session, appreciating the board's work there. I think we're gonna wrap that up when Victoria returns from her break this week, and we'll have that out to you as kind of notes where we ended up. But again, much appreciation for the time. I know it took a lot of time, especially during this time of year. It's busy for everybody, and during the election as well. So thank you for that. We did have our first SELPA meeting with the Saddleback Valley Infant, and both Irene and Dean, myself, were there. Just impressed with the partnership and the work that Dean and Irene do. It's very clear when we're having those meetings, just how aware they are of our needs and how proactive Dean and Irene have been to ensure that our students are getting what they need related to the SELPA work. So great work. Yesterday, I got something you didn't mention, which is hard to do. Kenna and I don't think you mentioned this, interviewed students.
You're right, I didn't, I forgot.
So we interviewed students yesterday at the high school, and just a mock interviews for their experience and reviewed their resumes with them, and so it was a fun experience, and the kids did not know who I was, which is great. So then I could ask them questions just about how things are going and what might they change in the school, what they think is going well, and of course at the very end when I divulged who I actually was, a few were surprised and got really red in the face. But I told them I appreciated their honesty, and that's exactly what I asked. And so I'm just really, really impressed. I think I had the opportunity to interview 3 or 4 students yesterday. Teachers do fantastic work. I just kudos to LaBufa and our administrators at our schools who I know are doing the heavy lifting of the day in and day out work. But sitting through those interviews just made me feel really confident in the work that's happening at our schools. So again, much appreciation there. Alicia and I have done quite a few learning walks, and been spending time in and out of classrooms, just really for us to be able to have that time to share the same conversation, see the same things, look at the areas that we're doing really well, things that we can continue to improve upon. So again, I won't take too much time to discuss that, but I just, we had an opportunity to go to Thursday, and some of the stuff going on in those classrooms, and Kevin mentioned as well, just makes you really happy to be in education. So I'm happy my son goes there as well. I'm just impressed. Teacher of the Year dinner, which we mentioned, and the man who came to dinner, echoing those comments, all the students did a fantastic job. It was great to see students from most of all of our schools participating as well. You don't always see that in drama productions, but I know that makes a great place for our students when you see students from Thurston there, as well as I believe Elmore had some students, and I even think there might have been a Top of the World student. So just a well done show. My son actually attended with me. He was laughing, and he has been to a lot of those shows over the years, having a father who was a principal. And this was the first time that I think he actually walked out smiling and not asleep, so which is great. And then last but not least, I did attend Rotary, and it's a great organization, does so much for our school district and for our students. And so I had my induction this last week, so now I'm an official member. I left my pin on my other suit, unfortunately. But again, great group, and they just speak so highly of our schools and the work that we do for our students. So that's my report.
Where are they meeting this year?
At the hotel room.
So our cabinet members, Dean, do you have something today?
Well, our LED's been going into the high school, so the library has the LED lighting. We're bringing in the gyms are going in. One of them this week, getting it 3.5 times brighter.
It's awesome.
And
I was in the library last night for a scholarship application meeting. It's crazy. It's so nice.
very good.
Yeah,
So that
kudos.
was all classrooms. Obviously our plan is to get that throughout the district, and so it's very observant and also Bill, thanks again for your legal mind and always getting keenly right to the issue and stepping up when there's important. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Dr. Deepa.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. I really do appreciate that. You're extraordinary. Thank you. So for me, I'll start off with sort of an adventure. Jason, Lisa, and I were able to sub out Mr. Brewski's room. That was great fun. When we took roll, we interviewed them, tell us sort of a Rose and Thornton kind of idea. What do you love about your school? What do you want to change? That was a lot of fun. And Lisa and I nailed Macbeth, so really proud of that. I really want to commend our principals and our teachers around MTSS multiple systems of support. We're really trying to coalesce around systems of support for students that are struggling emotionally, socially, but also maybe that are not yet proficient academically. So we're really trying to pull systems together. And our principals have been with us the whole way, and we know that they are juggling a lot of tasks, and we are so fortunate they're with us. So I want to commend them for that work. I want to thank our board for the support of the Irvine Math Project. We were underway. We met with initially with our scope and to build scope and sequences to support our math support isn't aligned with what's happening in the classroom in a proactive way. So we got started on that. Thank you for that. I want to thank Keta and Dee for being a part of NGSS today, and really, we do have a dynamic group of teachers, and we are on our way. So thank you for your support. With GATE, I do want to commend Grace Jones. She led a fantastic parent night around the growth mindset for our gifted and talented students and supporting our families with that. She did a great job. Thank you to Thurston for hosting us. And somehow we convinced Jenny Rankin to come in and host our spring GATE parent night around the overexcitables, the OEs, for our gifted students as well. So we're really excited about that. I think the last thing for me is that we continue to go down this path for our ELA, English Language Arts programs. We're looking at program 2, which is our core program, which is what you saw Study Sync. High school will also begin that work, but we're also looking at ways to intervene for students that are 2 or more years behind English only. That's program 4 and program 5. So we're on our way, and we really do appreciate your support with that.
Lisa.
Alright, so I just wanted to give you an update on substitutes, because I know that we've brought this issue to you several times. And so I'm happy to report that we're in a better place than we were 2 years ago. However, there is still a statewide shortage. The state has actually implemented plans to allow for temporary permits for long-term substitute positions because many districts are having difficulty filling those positions. So we do have a posting up. We usually do hiring twice a year. We started a little earlier on the second one this year. But for the most part, we've been able to manage our really heavy PD days and maintain coverage and with quality substitutes. So we're in pretty good shape there. Just wanted to mention, we've had 2 evaluation committee meetings since the last board meeting, and it's really a good group of people that I think initially were a little scared of the process. But I think when they saw what it could be and saw that, you know, we really wanted to hear honest feedback and open feedback about the pros and cons to our current system, they've been really good about reviewing research and best practices as it relates to teacher evaluation, and really taking that helicopter view of the system as a whole as opposed to how it affects solely me. So it's been a very good couple of meetings so far, a lot of work to do yet, so. And then finally, I just wanted to share, piggyback on what Dean had mentioned about Schneider installing the LED lighting. We actually have hooked up Schneider with Jen Merritt Solar Club, and we're going to have the students actually do some shadowing, and Schneider's engineers are going to talk with the students, and then we have Andy Christnow who's going to help produce a video that will actually show us some of the things they're going to do. So it's exciting to be able to partner with them, and they've been really great in working with us.
Thank you very much. Well, now we have a principal report tonight. It's Mike Connell from Top of the World Elementary will do a report.
Good evening, President, members of the board, cabinet. Phil, on behalf of the principals, we do want to take a moment to thank you for your service over the last 8 years, and we truly appreciate it. And again, you're, like I said, always students first, and you've always been a stand-up guy. So good luck to your future endeavors, your free Tuesdays. So yeah, I want to jump right into TOW 2016-2017. Been an amazing year thus far. Entering my 3rd year as the principal at TOW, and it's as we've always said about Laguna, it's an incredible place to be. Being a parent of a 1st and 7th grader, and it's beautiful. So you see the view. You know, it's a decent view of TOW. So we're gonna jump right in. So from an academic perspective, you know, the CASP results, it's one measure for how our schools are doing, and just kind of a little glimpse as you know, how our teachers and students are doing in progressing towards the new state standards. For this year, we had 88% of our students met or exceeded English language arts standards. That's #1 in Orange County, so you know, kudos to the students and staff at TOW for that. 83% of the students in 3rd through 5th grade met or exceeded the math standards. The 3rd and 4th grade were 2nd place, and our 5th grade students were 1st place in Orange County. So again, it is just one measure, but you want to celebrate when you have those moments to celebrate. So what it shows is there's been a lot of work done from the board, the cabinet, all down to the classroom, just truly trying to do our best to make it the best possible place for our students to be. Like you hear a lot about, you know, it's a private school education in a public school setting. So incredible things happening. So again, those results are incredible, but we always want to look to see how can we improve, how can we strive? Because we're still looking at 12% of our students are still struggling in ELA, and 17% are struggling in math. So, and we're in a position where we have the ability to say, okay, you know, 17% of 300 is minimal. So it's how can we target those students and really make sure that we build every student up so we can get these numbers to 100%. So a couple things we're going to do. Area of focus for 2016-2017. School-wide, from kindergarten through 5th grade, we've seen that the listening piece of the assessment, our students have scored the lowest in. So we're looking at, from, like I said, kindergarten through 5th grade, how can we just increase the auditory comprehension, the listening comprehension of our students, as well as, you know, build up their speaking skills. So that's the ELA focus all the way through 5th grade. And then from a math perspective, it's problem solving. So our goal is to really go back to our roots. We got a big focus on CGI, which is cognitive guided instruction, and then we shifted into the new textbook. So we're really looking back and saying, how can we build those problem solving skills with our students and see that growth. And again, we have a school plan from kindergarten through 5th grade, so each year building upon that, and how can we meet those needs and improve those scores. But it's not just the 3rd through 5th grade teacher's job. We kindergarten through 2nd grade have a critical role in building those students up. So that's our focus for this year. Another piece, it's for intervention. We're really looking at each grade level, starting with our after-school classes in the 2nd trimester, that are going to be selecting and identifying an area of focus. It might be in 3rd grade, 4th, and 5th grade. Okay, what are those key skills that they've had that maybe students, which necessary skills up to this point, up through 1st trimester, that they're still struggling in, and how can we give them some after-school support in those areas? So very targeted, specific interventions happening 3rd grade through 5th grade, and some others also in kindergarten through 2nd. So again, we're blessed with the majority of our students perform very well. But we have the resources. How can we meet the needs of 100% of the students and really give them the shot in the arm they need to be successful? So we're excited about that focus for this year. And we've had a huge success. And you've heard about 5th grade for 2 years, did ability grouping for math. And it was highly successful. It's difficult when you're planning a schedule to make sure that everyone has that dedicated time where no other pullouts are happening. We were blessed this year to make it happen in 4th grade as well. So we have ability grouping in math happening in 4th and 5th grade, and we definitely contribute that one piece to the success we're seeing in mathematics. So great that we're able to make it work there as well. Moving on to growth mindset, it can also be labeled our social emotional supports. We know there's been a big push in the district about how can we meet the needs of our students socially and emotionally. One piece we are doing is our 2nd step curriculum. You've heard Irene talk about it, other principals talk about it. Kindergarten through 1st grade this year are doing those social emotional lessons every single week, a 20-minute lesson each week. Our counselor and psychologists are pushing into the 2nd and 3rd grade classrooms and giving those lessons weekly as well, with the goal of handing off that curriculum to those teachers for next year. So that's a solid kindergarten through 3rd grade social emotional curriculum. And we are looking towards how we can build it up in 4th and 5th grade as well. We're looking to see what the next steps are in that area. But one piece I want to talk about, Chris and I were lucky enough to take a trip over to see a science lab in Irvine at the end of last school year. And I was walking through some of the classrooms and I was seeing, posters about growth mindset on the classroom wall. So I kind of pulled the principal aside and asked him about, I'd heard about it a bit, but I was, how did you get it to be? How did you bring this to your campus? So she was wonderful enough to share her resources with us, and that led to Chris and I launching growth mindset on our campuses this year. So one example, and again, it's been a huge success. But it's one thing to launch it at the beginning of the school year, but it's another thing to really build on it and make it sustained and give the teachers the support of how they can bring it through the entire year. So one thing our team purchased is a Growth Mindset Coach, a book for every single kindergarten, every single teacher on our campus. And it really teaches them kind of month by month how they can incorporate the growth mindset concepts to their students and truly teach it to the class so the students get it as opposed to maybe just talking about it in September, then it kind of gets lost along the way. Another piece that I wanted to hit on, it should be this next one. We've also looked at, there's been kind of social emotional concepts like grit, perseverance, that weren't really addressed with our Rachel's Challenge. We have a great character building focus on kindness and compassion, but there were certain concepts that we felt were so critical to truly explain to our students. So tying growth mindset with our desire to teach these skills like empathy and assuming positive intentions. So we've woven them together. So at the beginning, at the flag assembly for each month, we have our pals and our student council will do a presentation. And this past month they did a presentation about what it is to assume positive intentions. So it was an incredible way for the students to see, the example of a kid walking and reading her book and she bumps into somebody else. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you bumped into me on purpose. And then they kind of act out and explain, well, there's 3 different scenarios and say, well, you just assumed negative intentions on 3 different occasions, but this is actually what was happening. So, because I tell you, when I work with students, if they kind of make it to me, if they make a poor choice, if they're upset with somebody, 9 times out of 10, they're always assuming that whatever happened you did it on purpose. So I'm like, oh wow, you can read minds, it's amazing. Because typically it's not, so it's so critical. So this is what we made for it's a month by month focus. And again, so we're tying the growth mindset concepts that they kind of lay out for us in the book, along with these key social emotional concepts, and just kind of showing to the students by having the teachers focus on it for that month, as well as having our assemblies have those skits for them as well. And then we've gone to Boys and Girls Club, we've gone to all the classified staff and everyone, so they're aware of these, so they can kind of continue the same language as well. And then I saw Keta today, and she's like, "You gotta make sure the critters make the assembly." So I was like, "All right, we'll go ahead and throw it in there." So those are our friends from the wood chip set. We are hoping to have them gone. They're not, they're dormant right now. But we have some plans in place for the wood chips being replaced. But I couldn't go any further without mentioning them. And then I think, oh, that's too bad. I must have updated it. It didn't make it. But I had a picture of myself in a onesie that it's. I'm so sorry about that. It was the earlier version must have been downloaded.
I borrow Chris's phone's like.
Yeah. For half the room, you have no idea what we're talking about.
What you missed.
It's another time. It was priceless. So then this is I want to show a little video again from our behavioral focus for this year. We had the Stop, Walk, and Talk is the student conflict when you're having a conflict with a peer. So it's our peer conflict kind of resolution program. We teach them how to stop, walk, and talk. And we've been talking about it for years, and do I need to do something? You got it? But we realized, so I talked to my staff at the middle or end of last year, I said, we need to make a video so the kids can see it, because I'm finding when the kids come to me, I'm like, well, did you use Stop, Walk, and Talk? Well, no. So I've got a little video for you that we made at TOW to teach the students exactly what the Stop, Walk, and Talk peer conflict piece is all about. You go just bring back a little bit. Just there you go.
Be prepared to learn and care for ourselves and others. But sometimes problems do happen at our school. So we're going to teach you how to stop, walk, and talk.
It's a great t-shirt.
What are you doing? Whoa, are you feeling frustrated? Yes. Would you like to learn how to handle the situation? Sure. First, you must tell her to stop. Stop. Not like that. You need to use a loud, slow voice, and put your hands up like this. Tell her you want her to stop. Stop. Okay, sorry. Good job. Remember, if someone is trying to annoy you, you must tell them to stop. Come on, give this to me. No. Give it to me. I want it. No, I'm reading it. Well, are you feeling frustrated? Yes. Well, this is where you can use a stop, walk, and talk. Let's try. Tell it to stop. Stop. Not like that. You need to use a serious voice to put your hands like this. Let her know you want her to stop. Stop. Now you got it. So stop. But what if she doesn't want to stop? She doesn't stop. Try to walk away. Walk to a different part of the library. Use it next to someone else. You don't see around when you feel like this. Come on, give it to me. Remember, if someone tells you stop, you must stop what you're doing. But if someone tells you to stop, don't disagree and don't argue. Just take a deep breath and go on with the rest of your day. But you must stop.
Oh, bumps into the ball back.
The third step is to talk to an adult about what is going on. When you address a teacher, coach, or another trusted adult, they will ask you if you told them to stop and if you walked away. Stop! No! Come on! Give me some more!
Hey Shannon, what's up? Yeah, let's go to stop first. And then you walk away.
again, it's just one of the tools that we use to really work with the students about how to get along and work together. So I just wanted to share that with you. But like I said, with that, that's a little snapshot of what's happening at the top of the world, and just you let the credits run. But again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and we're excited and rocking and rolling at TOW.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Any questions?
Sweet. With that brings us to number 8, our consent calendar. Is there any member of the school board who'd like to pull on it? Okay, with that in mind, can I have a motion to approve items 8A through O? John.
Yeah, there were a couple of things from the personnel report. One, I think they were both under coaches. So on page P23, just wanted to mention that the varsity basketball girls head coach, that would be a prorated stipend because of the preseason. That would have started on September 5th, and obviously he wasn't in place on September 5th. And then on page P25, the water polo coaches, those should be under district funded, not booster funded. Thank you.
Any public comment on the consent calendar? All in favor? Okay, we'll move now to number 9. This is an information item. It is a report on developer fees. Mr. West, Mr. Dixon.
Yes, I'll go ahead and take this report. This is a pretty statutory compliance type of reporting. So when we collect, somebody does a home addition, we collect fees for that, and those fees go into a Fund 25, our building fund. All developer fees go in there. And what comes out of there are capital projects, so it's building funds, so we do the capital projects. So the balance in the fund, the projects are in the fund are in the backup for the item. There's a financial presentation on the 3rd page of the item, P113. So this is statutory to bring it to the board, and we're doing that for you.
Thank you so much. That brings us to number 10, the College Readiness Block Grant. Dr. Depot.
Thank you so much. I'd like to ask Amy Cornell and Nicole King to join us at the podium. They will tell you about what has been going on over at the high school.
What's been going on over at the high school? Good evening, board members and members of cabinet. We have been working over at the high school on putting together a plan for our college readiness block grant, and this is a block grant that is that was just instated that allows for our school district to receive $75,000, and we have a 3-year period to spend it, and it basically is established to provide for opportunities for our unduplicated students, kind of a strange term, so I'll explain it. I know everybody kind of has questions about that. Our unduplicated students are students, basically students from our subgroups, our English learners, special ed students, and low socioeconomic students. And unduplicated is more of a kind of a business services term. It is that we only count those students once for funding, even if they may be an English learner and low socioeconomic. Instead of counting them twice, they only be counted once, so it's an unduplicated count of students. So, so this grant is meant to provide services at the high school to increase the number of our unduplicated students who attend four-year universities and attend universities and then successfully complete those universities within 4 years. So we've been working together with a group from the high school and trying to come up with what are the best possible ways that we can meet the needs of our students, our unduplicated students, and make sure that we get them successfully to college and get them to successfully be able to complete college without having to take remedial courses and things that would cause them to kind of fall behind when they get to college. So I'm going to turn it over to the assistant principal from the high school, Nicole King, and she's going to talk a little bit about what the plan is to spend the block grant.
So we went into our data. We looked to see the graduates last year, how many of them graduated UC qualified? So last year, 71% of our students graduated UC qualified, but only 52% of our unduplicated students graduated UC qualified. We looked at our AP students. We had 259 AP students take 485 exams, whereas our unduplicated, 98 of them,
There's 98 total
98
unduplicated students at the high school.
98 of our unduplicated students, so 31 of those were AP students, and they scored an 87% with a score of 3 or better.
But one big number in there is that we had 0% of our English learners who took AP tests, and only 31 of our low socioeconomic students took an AP test. So we really want, this grant is really meant to make sure that we're encouraging our students, all of our students from all of our subgroups, to be able to enter AP courses and be able to be prepared to enter UC and four-year universities.
So then we went to our survey results, and we had our College and Career Center student survey results. You know, what did the students want? The students wanted more summer classes, more AP courses, and more internship opportunities. When I consulted the DLAC parent survey, parents wanted workshops for students and parents. They wanted more interest surveys for their students to get them excited about college and career. And they wanted more college entry information and supports. So we came together with the team and discussed what are some possibilities that we could use that money for. One was providing the PSAT, the pre-ACT, the PSAT to our students at no charge, and we did that this year. We wanted to utilize the PSAT and pre-ACT scores to determine those students that could successfully participate in AP classes, but didn't necessarily participate, and spend more time talking to them and encouraging them to take those classes. We also discussed creating a summer AP boot camp program to provide support for those students so that they would enter those AP courses, and conducting SAT, ACT test prep sessions for target populations on the weekends. We also wanted to invite Road Trip Nation. So we have some former students who did something quite unique. They've been traveling the nation in a motorhome, and they've been interviewing professionals to ask, you know, how did you get involved in this? How do you even start? So we're inviting them to come and speak and kind of get our kids excited about their future. We'd like to have more college visits, college classroom experiences, business exploration trips, building those relationships with neighboring businesses to kind of get those kids excited, just like Road Trip Nation, get those kids excited about careers that might even be here in Laguna. AVID and college readiness classes and AVID strategies. We'd like our teachers to be trained, some of our teachers to be trained in the AVID strategies, and kind of tailor that towards our high school. And then PK, Parent Academy. It's a really neat program. I think it's 9 weeks. They come in and they empower our parents to ask questions and get excited about sending their kids to college, and how do you approach those roads?
That's the last slide. So very short presentation. But we wanted to give you guys an overview of what the team came up with as far as how we could really put in place some things at the high school to help some of maybe our students who aren't always prepared to go to four-year universities, to help try to get a larger percentage of those students ready to go to four-year universities and be successful in four-year universities. So as part of the grant, are required to do an information item and then allow for public input and then come back, and we'll be having this as an action item, I believe, at our next board meeting. So, do you have any questions?
So is there enough money in the grant to do all of these things? I mean, they look fabulous, but it will cover all of them.
We kind of went through, and Chris and I looked at the budget and made sure that we would have enough money to cover each one of these things for the next 3-year period, including this year, next year, and the following year.
Great.
And the AP boot camp program, is that kind of seeing the class beforehand? Is it like pre-learning the class? Is that?
It's more of a pre-learning to get students ready. Students who may not have thought about taking an AP class in the past, but giving them some information about it, and also kind of giving them a little bit of kind of a preemptive strike to get them ready to be successful in AP class.
And then what's AVID?
AVID is called, it's Advancement via Individual Determination. I actually used to be an AVID teacher when I taught high school. And it's a great class. It's meant to take students who come from families whose parents didn't attend college, and so they may not have the resources. You know, a lot of our parents here, they went to college, they know how to apply for college, they know how to, pay for college, things like that. What we did in AVID was to give those students the resources in an elective class, and so they took that class 4 years in a row. And we had college tutors come in twice a week. So one day we did language arts college tutors every Tuesday, and then Thursday we had math college tutors. They would come in and the kids could ask questions, get help on their assignments, get help on their homework. We also did college visits, so it gave the kids an opportunity to see different colleges, from community colleges, state colleges, up to private colleges. So it really gives the kids, and then we help them with, they get help with their FAFSA and their college applications. So it's really a pretty comprehensive program to give kids resources who maybe don't have the resources at home to be able to get into college.
You know, we had an AVID class, we did it here, and I think Jim Garvey was involved with that, and I think Jonathan taught, I'm not.
I think that I remember hearing that Jonathan
It was not just, I mean, because of our demographic, it also was to have the students who, may not be thinking that they're going to make it to go to college, but if they committed to the program, to help them with study skills and with, actually learning how to use their abilities. When they did, it wasn't necessarily as much, where the parents maybe had been to college themselves, because it's just a different group of kids. But it was so enthusiastic when we started, and I'm not totally sure what happened to it, but I know that it really works in some places, and I don't think it was as successful.
I think we didn't have enough kids.
I'm just focusing on that.
That was something that we were also talking about, is our demographic, and as far as doing the actual AVID program, it would be somewhat difficult. And so what we were looking at, and something that we did in some of my previous districts, was to take some of those AVID strategies and utilize them. So we're looking at our core skills classes at the high school, and instead of adding another program in, because we know we're kind of running out of places to stick things at the high school, so instead of doing that, taking our core skills and using those AVID strategies to revamp the program, and providing tutors and providing information about college and getting the kids excited about going on college visits and things like that, and giving them study skills, and so having that be sort of a curriculum that we could utilize in our core skills.
Well, we already have Lynn and thank you, in the College and Career Center, and the FAFSA, I can't remember, I thought it was wrong. But they're answering all of those questions and kind of doing that. I have a question about, well, first off, 71%, that's all that we have UC qualified. So we need to do that just so we get a better number there.
We're working on that.
That's
a huge focus, yes.
That's the most surprising number to me. And do you
And it's
think,
been that way for the last.
yeah, that's surprising. So, yeah, thank you, work on that. The other thing is, the cost of the test, would the, I know, cause I mean, I think when we took them, Annie took them, it was $90-some or whatever, so they're not getting any cheaper. So are we going to fund those as well?
We apply
if
for,
get them in
yeah,
there?
we
Okay.
get
I know PTA used to do some of
we
that.
actually, we apply to the state to get a fee reduction
Okay, so
for,
that-
free reduced students, for students who have, who have financial difficulties and
Okay,
can't pay for the
okay.
test.
And then on the last slide, you have the college visits, college class, business exploration trips. I know that Lynn and Ann were working on matching up, local business people with, careers so that people could, are we doing that? I know that they were running into a roadblock because of the
That's what we're working
yes, okay, so, but we are trying
We're
to
still
work,
working through that.
okay.
It takes time, it's
Right.
the extra layer that people have to go through to get fingerprinted and to be in that role,
So there's-
Because they're not supervised.
Right,
Because
that's why I
that's-
just, I didn't know what, I said, talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I phone call. Okay, so but we are working toward that, cause I think that's a huge, that gift if we can do that for our kids.
And Anne and Lynn were both on the team that created this plan, so
That's
so
why
they
I
were
remember that.
definitely an integral part of coming up with the plan and the proposal of what to do.
I don't know if you saw, there was something written in the paper today about the students that need to do the remedial English and math and how it really derails them finishing college because they don't get credit for those classes and then it just, and it's a large number.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about from our district, but just in general, that need to take that, so.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the piece for getting them to complete it in 4 years, is to make sure that they don't start out already having to remediate. And that's something that we definitely are looking at and have looked at, as far as what we're doing in the math classes.
I don't mean to sound snobby when I said 71%, that's not,
That's actually a pretty good number, by the way.
yeah, it's just that, when you think.
It's not good enough, but
It's
pretty
not good enough.
I mean, I don't mean to say, and I know every kid's not gonna go to a four-year and nor do they want to, but I just feel like if we don't wanna shut any doors
Yes.
for anyone if we don't have to, so,
Well,
yeah.
and I'm sure you too are looking at that statistic that we don't have English learners taking those tests,
Yeah.
and that's why.
And that is also, if you go to other school districts, pretty typical, but that's something we need to work on. I would say this much, anything you can do to help kids get excited about college is a great thing. And I think a couple things you said very important. One, the internships, not just in the CTE or the career technical, but they're very important for kids wanting to go to elite colleges. Because they're looking at kids now saying, oh, you got an almost perfect GPA and almost perfect score on the ACT, that's nice. What did you do other than that? And they value those internships because it does, let's say you wanna go into medicine, just as good. If you're doing something in that field, they say, well, it shows an interest. Or you're going into mechanical engineering, if you're doing something in that field, so that's more than just taking a class, that's actually a hands-on thing. It's not so much what you've learned there, it's the fact you've shown that interest. And the other thing you mentioned is, for a lot of kids from lower income families, going to a college campus is a big deal. Because for a lot of kids that never have been on a college campus, and I think when you go into a college campus, it becomes doable. You go down to, you can go to Saddleback, any of these colleges, walk around, you look at it, it's not quite so intimidating because you've walked the campus, maybe you've eaten in the cafeteria. Sounds very simplistic, but for college educated parents, you're right, kids, they can tell their kids, it doesn't push them, and it was always, with our family, it was, what college are you going to? It wasn't, are you? And then, but for kids who don't have that background, it's so helpful if you can bring them into a college and unwalk the campus, let them see. And that's why I've also been a big supporter of allowing kids to take college classes in high school, because even if you just take the one class, that entry onto that campus is the first step of what could be a wonderful career, so. Those are great things you're working on, this is.
It demystifies college.
Right.
And it also gives them motivation to maybe take those A through G classes when they're like, why do I need one more? It's fine, I can graduate without it. So I think that's what we're hoping, so it'll get them excited.
Right, and the challenge of getting a kid to take an AP class who's scared to death maybe who doesn't on paper look like they should take it, that could be a life-changing event for that kid. So very important stuff, but
And that parent academy too, I think that would really help.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, thank you so much. This brings us to information item number 11, first reading of board policy 6171, Title I programs. Dr. Lori, you have this.
Yes, as part of the requirement, when we do our comparability report to the federal government, this is federal funds that we receive, Title I or federal funds, they ask for the copy of your board policy on Title I programs. And so to that end, we're bringing you one. I wasn't planning on doing more policies until the January, but this one, timing is of the essence because we do need to submit our comparability report. It happens every couple of years. And so this is simply that. And that is with the federal funds that we receive, that we have a plan by which we spend them, which is, as you're all noticing, the LCAP is part of that larger plan that districts are moving towards. The federal government even is looking at that as the template to move towards. There's what's called comparability of services, which essentially is saying that school by school, you can't use monies that are Title I specific to fund something that you're funding at another school site. So that's really the intent. So for us, comparability wise, there's nothing to compare for Thurston, but at Elmore, we're providing a service at Elmore, and we're providing the same service at COW that, and we're spending this district funds on one and federal funds on the other. They say that that's not allowed, so you have to have a little bit of an additional support service provided at those school sites. Again, they also throw into that district salary schedule as well as part of it. So there's a couple of layers for the federal dollars that we get. This is simply for us to be able to say we have a policy around this as a checkbox to address their concerns or issues around that. So,
given the priority of getting this on the books, is there any desire to move this to a second reading, or do you want to do that this time?
no, we feel confident that we'll be able to meet our obligation, our deadline, our December obligation to the federal government by you just doing a second reading and approval of the next board meeting.
All right, thank you. Well, that takes us now to our action items. Number 12, our first action item is approval of job description, school readiness nurse. I think Lisa has this.
So this is not a new position, but it is a new job description. We have had this grant funded position for many years. It's a grant funded part-time position, and while the functions have really been underneath the general district nurse job description, you can see this one is quite specialized because it focuses on children that's really prenatal through age 5. So this is updated to specifically address the duties of the school readiness nurse, and since she's retiring at the end of December, we wanted to take the opportunity to do those revisions now. It's Kathleen.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this? Any board member questions for staff?
I just wanted to know, about how many kids does Kathleen serve? I mean, about how many kids are there?
I'm not sure the answer to that.
Okay, and are they all students within Laguna Beach School District, or are some of them students that go to Boys and Girls Club or families do, but they don't live here?
My understanding is that it would be students who live within district boundaries.
Within community, district boundaries, which are bigger than the city. No, I understand that, but I know, there are a lot of kids at Boys and Girls Club that don't live in our district boundaries too. That are in other parts of Aliso,
We could get you answers to those questions.
Sure, so busy. No, I know.
I've seen her, I've seen her there with the Even Start and the fire programs, and it seems that she was looking for certain students. I mean, it's not just everybody who's there, it's students that are part of this district. But they go out to seek them out, because that's what they're supposed to do. Because those populations don't necessarily know that those services are provided.
Can I get a motion to approve on this?
Somebody?
Any other board member
I
discussion?
just wanted to know, is it in your update 45% position, is that what has been?
It's been approximately that, because we made some changes to the structure of the position in the last year, we increased the work year. So it runs between 45% and 50%, it's kind of an odd number of hours per week, so that's really what it turns out to be.
Any further board discussion? All in favor? That takes us to number 13, approval of independent contractor agreement with Jennifer McClure in the amount not to exceed $10,500. Dr. Depot.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about this. So Ms. McLuhan had the opportunity to work with our middle school teachers. She received our middle school teachers alongside with Jenny and down in San Diego, and frankly speaking, was willing to host us and walk through what middle school looks like in the NGSS model. And so she spent time with our teachers and they came back raving about her, and there was, even after they went to Torrance and met with 2 more fantastic individuals that were willing to spend time with us, they said, we wanna work with her. So that's why we pursued a contract with her to come support our middle school and our secondary pathways.
And Jenny actually was gonna speak a little bit as well, just simply from being firsthand in attendance, I thought it would be helpful.
It's just so important when you have the right people on the bus through this big journey that we are on with NGSS. And I have to say, taking the team down, we've had some great quality days, our science department and myself. And going out and seeing what other sites are like, you know, our teachers sometimes might be a little skeptical about that experience. So when you go and you are wowed and impressed and appreciate, you're working with a science teacher who is now a TOSA, who knows her stuff, who can, you know, when Ina is asking her a question about the standards, like she knows those standards front and back, and she can acknowledge they can go into the high school. I think she's a 612 TOSA for that district. So she has a full knowledge and talks to them as something I could never do when they're talking about the standards and the depth and the knowledge that she has. She's phenomenal. I really feel like she was probably a tipping point for us at the middle school with what we did with this journey with NGSS. And they're fired up, they're ready to go, so it's nice.
And this will be to help them make the decision of which path they're taking, is that part of it?
Part of it, yes, but also, once we finalize our pathways, we'll need support on building lessons and course
Something more
sequences,
after that.
study, yes.
Right, so the great thing when you have a science teacher and they understand the transition, it's different than having an expert that is talking about the philosophical changes. This is someone boots on the ground that can say, this is how you can do it in the classroom. This is how an integrated lesson can work. This is what it looks like. This is, and it's so different because she's talking their language, right? And this is specifically how you can incorporate everything. She's phenomenal.
If I can speak to this? Just listening to the middle school teachers talk about this gal, it was, basically she was walking on water. And I think.
Did you see her?
I did not see her, but what I did see was when I went to Torrance, an actual lesson, and how different that looks from what we do now, what a lesson looks like now, and the not anxiety necessarily, but the trepidation of the teachers saying, well, we don't have books, because they're none written, we don't have, so to have a resource who has written curriculum, who has something concrete to show them so they can say, it allows them to breathe a little bit. So I think that's, and just as I'm listening to them just wax rhapsodic about this gal, I think that, I think it's money well spent.
One of the challenges that we face, obviously being small, there's advantages and challenges that come with that, is the ability to access a large pool of teachers who are experts in certain areas. And not that we don't have experts in NGSS in our own midst, but when you can find experts out there that can come in and help support your teachers, there's a lot of value in that. And instead of us releasing a full-time teacher to do this work, we're able to to grab onto somebody who is being released by another school district possibly, who has that area of expertise, who can come in and support our staff. So, you know, again, consultants, it's always a challenge trying to make sure we balance what we can bring into our district to make it meaningful for staff. And when we hear staff asking, we really want something and we really want this person, and we found what we believe is the right fit for what our needs are. We always want to try to be as responsive as we can. So this was a good opportunity, and I thank Jenny and Alicia for the work on that.
Any public comment on this? Can I have a motion to approve it?
Second.
Any further board discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
This takes us to number 14, also an action item, approval of resolution 16-70. Establish interfund transfer of $500,000 from the special reserve fund for the Alicio property reserve to the general fund for 2016 and 2017. This is Mr. West.
This is interfund transfer we budgeted at the beginning of the year. This is the first time coming out of the Aliso reserve since we set up the Aliso reserve. Our intention was always to kind of, as that HUD loan declined, that money would be released. And so we're releasing this money to the general fund. Most of our funds are transferred out of the general fund, and they occur more like in January, because that's when we get property taxes in December. This one actually is coming into the fund, and so October, December is our low point, so therefore we're bringing this in now at this point in time when it's in low point.
Any public comment on this? Board member questions?
I just say thank you. This is why we did it. This is great, thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve it?
So moved. Second.
Any further board member discussions or comments?
I just want to say that I took the opportunity at the Memorial PTA meeting to give a little background on this, because sometimes large money transfers get questions or they don't know what it's all about. And I thought with that group there, and as long as it's been, they probably had really no clue about what the Aliso property is. And so I just gave a little background on the fact of being able to get the school back, and then what happened a few 4 to 5 years ago when we found out we weren't covered, it went into default, and the reason for transferring that large sum of money. And it was interesting, I mean, because they know it is Lane Park, I mean, and it still's a long way out, I mean, but I just thought it's good to have that chance to inform them of what it is, and that we'll eventually get that site back. And one question is, what would we do with it? Really have no idea. I mean,
It's real estate.
It's nice,
real estate and
big
retail.
chunk of Laguna
Yeah.
Beach, almost oceanfront land.
Yeah, but just the fact that, I just said right now, I mean, we have need for space, even though our student population ebbs and flows a little bit, it hasn't, but that our programs have changed. The programs need space, and so, I mean, certainly if we had it now, we'd be using it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, as I look back, one of the things I'm most proud this board did was to make sure we secured our interest in that property, which was not previously secured as well as it should have been. And it is a long way out, but it's still
It's
a
a long
nice
way
little
out.
chunk of property
you
someday.
know, it would be interesting, I think if those folks had come to us thinking that we were the ones responsible for fixing it when the church residents had not taken care of it, we wouldn't have known that.
And I suggested to you, if we just got rid of that one structure that's nearby.
You wanted to just take it right
Didn't get a chance. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to number 50.
Just a resolution, no, just a resolution.
Tickets number 50 is approval to appoint 2 board representatives and 1 alternative representative to College and Career Advantage Board. Dr. Gloria.
Staff proposes that the Board of Education select and appoint 2 board members and 1 alternate for the College and Career Advantage Board. Bill, you won't be one of them?
I won't be one of them. So is there any public comment before we go off on this discussion? Doesn't appear to be any board member questions or concerns or interests.
I'd like to do it again.
Are we gonna do it again?
I'd like to.
The position is just changing so much, it's really, I think it's been important.
Have you guys had a chance, have you looked at the new lab at,
Down at the
San
school, San Clemente Cisco lab down there. She sent us a bunch of, I haven't been down there yet.
I think there's
They're down
also, didn't they also do one at Capo Valley?
I don't know about Capo Valley. I don't think Capo
I thought I
Valley.
got something down
I know they have one at San Clemente and.
Two at San Clemente High School, they just installed.
The
They have done
Cisco?
There's a Cisco lab
And something else, and then there's, well, Patty's gonna come and give us a abbreviated, presentation, because, you know, obviously, we're the little partner.
Yeah, we're not the
Yeah, and, but still, I mean, you know, the fact that it makes us, well, it makes me jealous, honestly, because, I would love to be able to do something like that for our kids here, but we just can't, we just can't, and it's during their school, their bell schedule, but we might be able to finagle some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just be interested in seeing the lab.
You can go down anytime.
And it there was a discussion at a thing that I went to, that some schools were using some of their CTE money at middle school. And then some people were saying, no, you can't do that, but some people were adamant.
It all depends, it's all about
That you could.
credentialing.
It's all about what
Credentialing. CTE, the way that you spend the dollars has to be spent on it. The teachers who have the appropriate CTE
So
credentials.
if a middle school
There's-
teacher did have appropriate
There's some
CTE
that
credentials,
may have had some that, but there's certain dollar requirements, so it's Perkins dollars, there's the other dollar, so
Oh, so
there's a little bit of a mixture, so Perkins definitely can't be spent at the middle school. However, the block grants that were provided,
That's
that
CTE
can be specific as long as the people have appropriate credentials, because they have to have a CTE credential, so in order to build the right program. So some school districts have, others have not necessarily done that simply because there wasn't enough money to go around to begin with.
Right.
Even with this infusion of dollars, so some
Right.
have kept it specific to the high schools, because that's where the bulk of the CTE classes are being taken by students, but
And that's why so many of our teachers, we're all trying to get our teachers CTE credentials.
Yeah, and there are more and more.
provides more
Well,
flexibility.
the middle school that I went to visit, Yorba Arts Academy or something, they had used CTE money, and maybe they only had to have one person have the CTE, because there's only one person teaching their labs.
Correct.
But when we're talking about careers, it looked really good, because it opened kids' eyes to so many different careers. They had 19 different modules in this big science room, and each kids worked in pairs, and they went around, and each module lasted from 2 to 3 weeks. They had a lot of EL students, so some of theirs lasted a little bit longer. But they were exposed to everything from electronic music to robotics to CAD to, airplane simulator, to shop tools. Each thing had
So almost like an exploratory wheel for.
right, that lasted for a year. It was a well, it was very, very popular, and they didn't really have enough room for all the kids that wanted to take it. Yeah, it was an elective, but they also went through all the possible careers that you could have if you were interested in each one of these different things. I mean, they had a forensics part, they had a health part where you ran on a little thing and took your heartbeat, and they took each other's.
And this is a middle school program?
And there are a number of middle schools that have this, and they're training, Alicia knows some about it, and she was maybe gonna look into see, they said that they are aligned with NGSS standards, but I don't know if they.
Yeah, so my last experience with Paxton Patterson, says that they were not NGSS aligned, but they were on their way, so we can do a check-in with them.
Yeah, some of the information they gave me said that they but you'd have to look into it, maybe some of it is and some of it isn't. But thinking about careers, I mean, this was fabulous, cause it got all these kids excited about something, and then they could go on and kind of have that pathway that led them, and they knew what they had to do to get there.
So it sounds like you should be the alternate to this.
I can take those questions out.
Well, I tell you, the one meeting I went to was so fascinating, I came back very excited, you know how excited I was.
You were.
It is, to me, a major area for kids, and when I started looking at the salary of the CTE tracks for kids going out and working,
I know.
it was very impressive, when you think of a kid coming out with a BA, and I told you about the one young lady I met who was, the waitress in New Orleans, and she had a BA from Scripps, and, you know, some of these kids are making $100,000 or more a year after CTE training, so nothing to sneeze at anymore. I think I'm looking for a motion,
Oh,
and the motion would be, I assume, to appoint Jan Vickers and Kenneth Brown as our representatives to the College and Career Advance Board.
D is the alternate.
And D is an alternate. Do I have such a motion? All in favor? And lastly, I need a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Our next meeting is, there's an organizational meeting held December 13th, board meeting, who's gonna be there? And I'll be here.
Nice job, Bill, thank you.
Nice job, Bill. This is about your age,
And kudos again. Good job.